Howdy everyone, thank you for tuning in to this video review. This is a video review of my Citizen Aqualand titanium dive watch that you see right here in front of you. So let's get started here. This is probably my most feature-filled watch, and probably is going to be my most difficult to review because it has so many things going for it. So this is a diver's 200-meter rated timepiece, and so what that means is, by that designation on the dial, what that means is this watch complies to the more stringent of the two ISO standards that govern dive watch durability and water pressure resistance. So I could go into that by itself, but that by itself would take a good 10 minutes to describe here, and I encourage anybody to do a Google search or log into any of the popular watch collecting forums to read more into that, because that all is part of what you're getting for your money when you buy a dive watch of this caliber. So let's see, it is, as I said before, it is titanium, and every part of this watch is bead blasted titanium, except for some of the polished accents that you see around the bracelet and around the dive bezel itself. So those of you who are allergic to animal skins like me and or stainless steel might find that a feature worth paying for. So the screw-in case back is also titanium, so that's kind of a nice thing. It has a very nice adjustable dive clasp here, and what that basically means is if you want to wear it with a wetsuit, you simply size it for your normal wrist like you see here, and then if you want to wear it with a wetsuit, you simply pull out this dive extension, and it allows for some additional material, be it a pair of gloves or a wetsuit, a thin wetsuit of some sort. So I use this feature surprisingly a lot, simply because my wrist expands and contracts at different rates depending on how warm or how cold it is outside. So the clasp mechanics themselves are really robust, really solid, really nice, solid feeling. And the watch itself is not that heavy, so it's not a very heavy timepiece, being that it's titanium, compared to stainless steel and even to a more extent tungsten. So what you're looking at here is a 3-window chronograph Complication. And it is a Citizen Echo Drive model, so what that means is this whole face here serves as a solar recharge cell, and it recharges an internal lithium battery that theoretically never needs replacing. So I've had this particular watch for 7 years, and I've never had any problems with the solar recharge circuit. It works great. I wear it out in the sun maybe once a week, or I place it on a shaded windowsill to get indirect sunlight, and it recharges no problem. I don't like to put it in direct sunlight on a windowsill, simply because the watch gets very hot by doing that, and that can't be, obviously that can't be good for the timepiece, being that there's delicate electronics inside. So in normal time mode, the 9 o'clock subdial indicates your GMT 24-hour time. The 6 o'clock subdial down here indicates your seconds, and this top dial here doesn't really do anything in normal time mode. So let's see, this orange dial indicator here is what indicates your level of charge. So the Echo Drive circuit has 3 levels of charge: level 2 over here, level 1 in the middle, and level NG for no good. So again, basically I just charge it as I mentioned before, and it works fine, no problem. So on a side note, these charge level indicators are threshold based, and so what that means is just because your needle shows on level 2 like it is here doesn't necessarily mean it's a full charge. Okay, so it's only going to drop out of level 2 when it reaches a certain low point or a lowish level of charge. So you're going to want to basically charge as much as you can, keep it in the sun, wear it in the sun, and keep it charged. So that's normal time mode. Now to activate the chronograph, you simply hold down this bottom button down here for 2 seconds, and there you go. You see the second, that orange dial indicator now becomes a second indicating hand for your chronograph. So it's simply a 15-minute chronograph. By starting it, I press this button up on top, and that orange dial indicator goes around to indicate seconds, and the 12 o'clock subdial indicates your minutes, up to 50 minutes. So, another note, some of you, if you look carefully, I haven't calibrated the chronograph yet, so that minute subdial should be at the top dead center position, but at the moment it's really not. So let's see, stop it and reset it, turn it back to normal time mode, hold the button down, and it reverses back and goes back into its normal time mode. So, being a dive watch, it has a depth indicator, a depth gauge. Part of this watch is a depth gauge, so let's wait for the chronograph to reset, and I'll show you how to activate that. There you go. So, this little brass metal piece right here is a water presence sensor, and if you get that wet, like I'm going to simulate here by moistening my finger, there you go. Now you saw that orange dial indicator move over to the top dead center position. What that means is now that orange dial is a depth sensor gauge, and this little depth sensor right here indicates how deep you are submerged underwater. So technically I'm not a diver, but the deepest I've had this watch is about 8 feet. That's about as deep as my lungs will take me without fins, and what you're going to see is this needle slowly creep over around in a clockwise fashion from 0 feet over here at top dead center to 120 feet over here. So pretty straightforward. It'll also remember your last recorded dive depth. It basically remembers dive depths for your dives. So those of you who are into diving, hey, great! This is kind of a nice little feature to have. So let's see. Let's talk about the luminescence. So let me go get my flashlight and let's charge up the Lume, and I'll show you that. Okay, so I'm charging up the Lume here, and let's get that going. Actually, the illumination on this watch is pretty good. I've been pretty happy with it. It glows really bright for the first 5 minutes, and it tapers off a bit, at the 10-minute mark, and 15 plus minutes. It's really dim, but it does glow through the night. So it glows dim through the night, but it doesn't totally go black. And you can see that here. So it's a very cluttered looking dial, I find. So the Lume really helps to increase clarity in low lighting conditions. Although it's not, the Lume itself is not really bright enough to use like after sunset or maybe on a moonlit night or something like that. So unfortunately, being a chronograph complication with all these features built into it, it's a pretty cluttered dial by itself. So it really does need a bright Lume to really bring out the visibility in low lighting conditions. So let's see, that's pretty much it. The watch here is 7 years old, and I've been kind of reluctant to review it because I'm not a diver, so I don't really have any way to really thoroughly test it for what it's fully capable of. But the watch is 7 years old. I believe it's the sapphire crystal that's on this, and I know this watch is 7 years old because I bought it the same year that my son was born, and at the time, this was my only watch, so I was wearing it all day, every day, all night, every night, through the 2 a.m., 3 a.m. bottle feedings, and so, kids waking up screaming at 2 o'clock, you look at the time, what time is it? Oh, I can easily read the time, so that's how I know that the Lume stays lit well through the night. Especially with night-adapted vision, I could very easily read what time it was when my eyes are dilated for full nighttime visibility. Being that this watch, literally, I kid you not, this literally has been peed on, it's been puked on. I've had it in and out of the saltwater Pacific Ocean. Sand, I've had this watch in the sand. Usually sand is a no-no for metal braceleted watches. It gets in there, it grinds everything to a halt, and it really messes up your watch. This watch here, I've had no such trouble. Go home, hose it off, rinse it off, soak it in warm water, totally fine. So this watch has really been abused, and I'm not sure if you can see it, but the date Cyclops has a couple scratches on it, and the crystal has some chips going around the perimeter here a little bit as well. So I've really trashed on this watch pretty much, and it's been totally durable throughout the entire time. Let's see. It does have a rotating dive bezel, a unidirectional bezel if you wanted to use it. It's kind of hard to turn as you see me doing here, but it can be used to time things. And it can be used during the chronograph mode to time minutes and seconds going around the perimeter of the watch. So anyhow, that's it for this review. Thanks a lot for tuning in, and I hope you guys find this review very useful.